So we broke down the pathetic Mets. Now we're gonna talk about the Yankees. Not as pathetic.
Not nearly as pathetic. Look, they had a great run this year, made the playoffs again, 28th straight winning season. Obviously, there was a lot of good that came out of this year, but as every Yankee fan knows, if you don't win the World Series, it's basically a bust.
Right. That's a lot of pressure to put on one team. But I'm going to talk about the positives because, hey, look, this is fun. Because I don't get to talk about positive stuff a lot being a Mets fan. But, hey, look, there was a lot that I saw personally that I think Yankee fans should appreciate a little bit more. First off, Luke Voight. I mean, what a stud. What a year that he had.
Yeah, he had an incredible year. And if there's one breakout star that you weren't expecting maybe in this season, it's Luke Voight.
Oh, my God. The guy's a beast.
Yeah, because you had Judge, of course, got injured during the year. Stanton, of course.
An actual beast.
Yeah, Stanton, of course, got injured during the year. And stayed injured for a good portion of it.
Right.
And I think when the playoffs came around, a lot of guys were hoping he would still be injured because outside of that one grand slam, he didn't produce a whole ton.
Right. No, they made it pretty far, and it just wasn't in the cards. You know what I mean? It wasn't meant to be that they made it all the way. And hey, maybe they'll win on a real year. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, I'm not too disappointed as a Met fan that we didn't go all the way or get into the playoffs because it was a shortened season. It didn't really matter. They're gonna bolster their team, and what the Yankees do is they don't rebuild. They reload, and they're going to reload again. And what are some of the moves that they can make? You think this offseason?
Well, I think a lot of the things that Yankee fans are hoping for, one being signing Lee Mayhew. This guy is going to be a free agent at the end of the season. So I think it's a no-brainer for the Yankees that they got to bring him in long-term. Guy won the batting title this year.
Yeah.
And that's number one on their list in terms of offensive moves. A lot of fans I know are screaming to replace Gary Sanchez. They're not very happy with Scary Gary.
Scary Gary was actually very scary. His batting average was scarier than anything this year. That was pretty scary. But DJ LeMahieu, I mean, he just proves it time and time again. I mean, he was diagnosed with COVID-19. I mean, and he went out there and he wins the batting title, and now he's won the batting title in both the American and the National League.
Yeah, it's the first time it's happened in the modern era, and. Some people are going to say 60-game season doesn't really count. Yankee fans knows it counts.
Yes. Yeah, so let's move on from LeMahieu. Anyone that I'm talking like a Yankee fan here, which reminds me, for the first time in my life, I was actually rooting for the Yankees. All right? Selfishly because I wanted to keep on talking about them on our show. But hey, look, I was actually rooting for them. And I found myself rooting for them, during the regular season because they were playing a lot of the teams in our division too, in the Mets division. So, hey, look, what are some of the things that the Yankees can do?
Another thing they can do is bolster that rotation because beyond Cole, they didn't have much there. They had some injuries, of course, in the starting rotation.
Yeah.
You had some guys like Tanaka who just seem to be regressing year after year. They're another team I think that's going to be heavily interested in Trevor Bauer. Matter of fact, Trevor Bauer put out a tweet during the playoffs saying it looks like you guys could use some starting pitching. So, his mind is he wants to come to New York.
Yeah, but as a Mets fan, I want him. I mean, I don't want him to go to the Yankees. But, him in a Yankee uniform, I think a lot of Yankee fans would love to see that. I want to see some of your comments on that. Our Yankee follicles out there, please, let your voice be heard. Let us know if you want to bring in Trevor Bauer. Who deserves him more, the Mets or the Yankees? I'd say Mets, but that's also your opinion too.
Yeah, and then the last thing I can really think of with that bullpen, Chapman looks like he got his ass chapped again, man, and blew another one.
There's no chapstick that can.
That's back-to-back years. He gave up essentially the season-ending home run in a big spot,
and he shit his pants during the regular season too. On top of all of this, this is the guy who went out there and shit his pants.
He really did.
So
he shit his pants, then he shit the bed.
Yeah,
and I think Yankee fans might start clamoring to replace this guy as their closer because he's proving to be unclutch. He's lost a couple miles an hour off that fastball, and that's making all the difference for a guy who doesn't have a lot of secondary pitches.
Right. You lose a lot, though. You lose a lot when you empty your bowels. And he did. He lost a little bit of that fastball. I know that. Here's one thing that I thought was interesting. It just seems to me whenever he goes and he hits someone, he plunks someone with his 100-mile-per-hour fastball, they plunk one over the fence right back. They get revenge. So J.D. Davis did that during the regular season. I know you Yankee fans don't want to talk about it. You're going to act like it never happened. But it did. He took him deep after getting plunked. And then we had that again in the playoffs, in Game 5.
Yeah, again, big spot. He doesn't come through. That's twice in a row now. I don't know exactly how you replace him because generally speaking, you would think he's still one of the better closers in baseball. But look, he's not Mariano, they're used to Mariano type numbers, and
No
you're
one's Mariano.
You're not going to get that from anyone else ever again. So that's a hard guy to replace. But giving it up like that in the playoffs 2 years in a row, that's not acceptable in New York.
No,
it's just not.
No,
and they're going to look to change that. I think in the offseason. I don't know if you move into a setup role, get a new guy to close. I don't know if you try to stick it out another year, but there's going to be a change.
It's not acceptable in Queens, New York, and it's certainly not acceptable in the Bronx.
Nothing's really acceptable in the Bronx.
No, unless you win it all.
Yeah, unless you have another ring you can put on your finger. I don't know where you're going to fit it. You guys have so many rings.
Yeah.
But
so look, it looks like to me, and it's a thought that just popped into my brain. I think that it's interesting that the Yankees and the Mets might be going for the same people here. They're looking at the same spots. Like if they're trying to bolster their bullpen or trying to bolster their starting rotation with Trevor Bauer, or where it be the catching situation, they really need Real Muto. And follow him on his Twitter handle, the Real Muto. But they need him, and the Mets really need him too. So it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a little bit of a slugfest going after these guys.